Alright guys, today we're going to take a look at UI text fields and how we can use these, use this feature on our apps to give the user the ability to enter information. So we're going to start off with a blank Xcode project. So go ahead and fire up Xcode and click on create a new Xcode project, and make sure we're in single view in an iOS application. Alright, we'll let mine load here. Go ahead and click next. And we'll just call this text field demo just to keep it simple. Make sure we're on Swift, make sure we're on Universal, and then go ahead and click on next. Okay, and then just making sure here. Okay, and then once from here again, make sure we are saving this to a secure spot for you there. I'm going to replace my already existing project, and let's get into it here. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our main storyboard. Alright, and from there we're just going to add a couple user interface elements here. So the first thing we want to add here is let's go ahead and put a label. Alright, so let's add a label to our storyboard, and we'll go ahead and left align it there over on the left. And also, let's see here, let's add the text field right now. Alright, we'll talk about it in a moment, but again, we're going to type text field in our object library down here, and we see we've got text field. So let's go ahead and drag that out, and let's align it to the left as well. Okay, and then let's just size that up there just a little larger. Okay, so at this point we added a label and we've added a text field. Okay, so now with the text field, with it selected over in our attributes inspector, you can see we've got some options here that we can play around with. Now we do have some experience from the Hello World app that you guys made, that you guys already worked a little with the text field. So you should be somewhat familiar with some of the basic features. So you've got the text that you can work with here, color, font size, and all that. Placeholder text, again, that's what we worked with on your app and on the last final app. So again, you could enter here. Just gives the user an idea of maybe to type here if you want to put something specific. Excuse me. We've got our background image, so if you want to throw an image in there, you can do that as well. And then border style, again, you can play around with those options if you want it to be more squared, oval. That's up to you there. Okay. So we'll get into some more of these as we progress here, but just remember, Attributes Inspector is where you can change some of the features of your text field. Okay, so let's go ahead and hook up our elements here to code. So let's go to our Assistant Editor, and first things first, we're going to go ahead and let's get rid of the did receive memory warning. We're not going to need that, so let's just get that out of the way. I'm going to create a little space here, and I'm going to go ahead and hook my label up to an outlet, and I'm going to go ahead and call this name label. Okay, so again, we should be pretty well versed in doing that. And then we're going to go ahead and, that's all we need to hook up at this point here. Okay, so our goal of this app is we're going to put our name into the text field and change the label to read our name. All right, so let's actually make the label a little bigger, just depending on how big your name is going to be. Let's get rid of this, the text label, and we'll just leave that blank. Okay, so that's going to be the start of our app here. Alright, so now what we're going to do at this point, alright, is we need to hook our text field up and get it to communicate here. We're going to do that through delegation. Okay, so basically the text field has a delegate property that we need to set, and this gets the text field to communicate with the view controller. So there's a couple steps to that. So the first thing we're going to do is click on our text field. We're going to control drag to the yellow view controller icon, and there we go, and we're going to let go. Okay, so we get some options here: segues, outlets, and then the stuff below here. We're going to go ahead and choose delegate. So we're going to hook up our text field to the view controller delegate. Okay, so that's step number one there. Okay, and then you can check if I go to my connection inspector, we'll see delegates hooked up to the view controller there. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go inside of my code. I'll make this a full screen so we can see what's happening here. Now in the class line, class view controller, we're going to let the text field know that we're going to tell the view controller that it needs to use a text field method. So to do that, we just call the text field delegate. And you can see it starts auto-completing. We're going to choose the one that says delegate. Okay, so again, we basically have just told the view controller that it needs to use a text field methods when we call it. Okay, so that's the first part. So at this point, we've now notified the view controller that it can access text field delegates. Alright, so now we're going to start using some of the methods here. And if you want to see all of them, if you hold down the Alt button on your keyboard and take your mouse over to UITextField Delegate, you'll see it kind of goes blue and gives you a question mark. So if I click on that, it's going to give you an idea. Alright, just going to give you a declaration, a description here. And then if you want, you can go in the further, you can go to the protocol reference if you want to look that up there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to call one of the methods right now. Our goal is when we want the user, when they're in our text field, we want them to be able to type their name in and then hit the enter button on the keypad and have that dismiss the keyboard and also put the name you put in there into the label. So we're going to work with a method called TextField should return. Okay, so now the nice thing by calling the delegate up here is when I start typing TextField, you're going to see it starts automatically bringing up the potential methods we could use. Okay, so from looking at this field, we want to focus on the one right here that says should return. So right on the bottom, rather than try and type that all out and risk making a mistake, I'm just going to go ahead and just hit enter with it selected to auto-complete that. All right, we're going to get an error to start because this is a method that returns a bool. This little arrow means it's returning a value and it's returning a bool, which we know means either true or false. So it's natural right now to have an error. We're going to fix that. Okay, so what we'll do to get rid of it at the moment here is we're just going to say return and true. Okay, so that's just basically saying that this method is going to return something. We're going to set that in a moment. So that's the first part. So again, we've hooked up. Let's just go back to the beginning here. We put a label on our storyboard. We added a text field. We hooked our label up to an outlet. All right, so again, if you want to make sure you're checking your code here. So we've got our label. Again, I've hooked up my label to this outlet called name label. I've hooked up my text field to a delegate. And then I've added the text field delegate to the view controller to let it know that, hey, we need to communicate and use the delegate methods here. Okay, so now we're all set to go here. Let's get this text field working here. We want something to happen here. Again, we want to be able to enter into the text field. All right, so let's go ahead and run it just so you can kind of get a preview of here what this will look like. There's my simulator. So when I bring this up here, all right, so it's going to take a second to load. Promise you something's going to happen. Here we go. All right, so there we go. So when I click into my text field, all right, this keypad comes up that if you have an iPhone, you'll recognize it. And our goal is we want to be able to type a name into the field. All right, and when I hit the return button, I want something to happen. All right, right now nothing's happening because we haven't set that method up, but that's what we're going to do in this next step here. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's go to the full view here, the standard editor, back to view controller. Okay, so again, we want to replace the name label text with whatever we type into the text field. So inside this method, let's set that equal here. So first thing is we want to work with our name label in the text property. All right, so we want to change the text property of our name label. And then from there, we want to set that equal to whatever the text field text property is. So saying text field a lot. So if you look above here, text field is already provided in this method. So that's what we want to work with. So we're going to set name label text equal to text field. Again, autocomplete, so just use it. All right, so this is part of the method. And then we're going to use the text property. All right, so again, we're setting that whatever I type into the text field equal to the name label. Okay, so when I hit the return button, whatever I put in the text field is going to show up in my name label.text. Okay, so that's not too hard. It's one line of code there. All right, but again, I'm using the text field property, which is right here. All right, and then I'm setting it equal to the name label that I declared up above here. Okay, so now another couple other things we'll do here, and then we'll show this final thing in action here. Is what if I want I want a couple things for user kind of interaction here. So when the user hits return, I want the text field to disappear. So that way they don't have to do anything there. I just want they hit return, text field disappears. So we're going to go ahead and call the text field again, and we're going to call a method, we're going to call a method called resign first responder. So basically, this is telling our app here that when the user hits the return button in the keypad, the keypad's going to disappear. Another nice thing to do is then when we hit the return button, we're going to set the text field to empty. So that way, if they want to type something different, it'll become empty. All right, so that way they don't have to delete it out. So to do that, we can just go equals quotation marks here, and then that'll set it equal. All right, so let's go ahead and run it here. All right, so Command R here, and let's take a look at what we've got going on. All right, so the app's going to load, and we should be able to enter our name into a text field and then have it appear in our label. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the keypad up. And you can type by doing this, or you can use your keypad, whichever is going to be easier here. All right, but once again, I'm going to hit return. Okay, keypad goes away. Oh, it auto-completed to check there. Darn autocomplete. So let's change that up here. I want my name to be in there. Okay, so now let's return that. There we go. Okay, so it auto-completes. So you'll notice text field is now empty. All right, so as you look at the code here, so the first thing is the text field.text, which I set to Chris, came to the name label. That's what you see here. We resigned the first responder, so the keypad went away. and then we set the text field text equal to nothing, or we set it to empty, which happened right here. Okay, so that's just a kind of an intro look to text fields here. So if you're done with that, I encourage you to explore some other things there. Again, within the text field attributes inspector, these are from this little middle section, capitalization, all the way down to return key. These are just different ways you can set the appearance of your keypad there. So if you want the keyboard type to be all numbers, you could do that. But again, those are things you can mess around with, and we'll also get into with our next app that we'll be doing here. So make sure you save that, and if you have any questions, make sure you're asking. But that is just a beginner look into the UI text field. So with that, we're all good for now. Make sure again save your work, and then we'll be ready to move on.